What's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 412 of AskGSM here today for Wednesday, October 20th, 2021. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great week. The show's going up a little bit later than usual here today, so I apologize for that, but thankfully there's no Dynamite, so I don't have to rush to put this up before Dynamite or during Dynamite or whatever. The show's airing on Saturday this week, which is great. I'll actually be at Dynamite next Wednesday, and there's been so much going on in the month of October. September was busy, but specifically the last week alone. I mean, if you guys are subscribed here to the channel, then you guys know. Today we had Sasha Banks drop in for an exclusive interview here on the channel and on Bleacher Report. Yesterday was the NXT North American Champion, new NXT North American Champion, that is Carmelo Hayes from Fanside of Daily DDT. That article went up on Tuesday. The audio went up here in the channel on Tuesday as well, that same day. Last Friday was the Universal Champion Roman Reigns. So it's been a busy week. We had Elliot Taylor as well, the man behind the making of the Bryan Danielson AEW entrance music. He was awesome. So check out all 4 of those interviews. That's 4 interviews in 5 days. And we got more to come. There's going to be more interviews going up in the next couple of days, video, audio, and so much more. You're not going to want to miss it. There's a lot of events I'll be going to. Like I said, Dynamite next week here. So I'm hoping to record the show early on Wednesday and then put it up before I leave Wednesday afternoon for Boston. It's going to be Dynamite time. It's going to be an awesome night. I'm looking forward to that, Mr. Marceau, seeing him in person for the first time in many months. But back to this show, though. If you guys want to send in a question to the show, you could do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave a question on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And also be sure to drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So let's get started here first with Jeremiah. I don't think that's how you pronounce your name. I apologize, my man. It's Jermain. So Jermaine, I think it's Jermaine, but I could be completely wrong on that. And if I am, I apologize. Jermaine P. His question was, who do you think is winning a crown jewel between Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and Bianca Billaire for the Smackdown Women's Championship? I don't think WWE will do a title swap either. I think WWE has something else in mind. I think you're giving them a little too much credit. You sent that in a week ago. So in the time since you sent in that question, they advertised and then subsequently booked a Bianca Billaire versus Charlotte Flair match for the Raw Women's Championship on Raw. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I was clamoring for Bianca to win the Raw Women's Championship. I think that would have been incredibly random, especially before she contends for the SmackDown Women's Championship on Thursday at Crown Jewel. Another match I don't expect her to win. But I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is their way of getting the belt off of Charlotte onto someone that's on Raw, and then maybe Bianca can be back in champion mode and Becky can be chasing her for that championship, it would be a clusterfuck, but that's what I'm thinking that they would do. They didn't do that. They had a great match on Monday with a dumbass, not interference, but a dumbass disqualification finish that, yes, protected both women in defeat, but if you weren't going to do the title change or have either woman get pinned, then why even fucking do the match? Their last match 2 weeks ago also ended in a non-finish. Why even bother doing it? Or a distraction finish. A lot of the matches in WWE with the women lately have ended with distraction finishes. So that was a week ago, or that was on Monday that happened. We got Crown Jewel tomorrow. I honestly expect them to do the title swap because as of right now, the new rosters go into effect on Friday. That is in 2 days. We got Crown Jewel tomorrow. Charlotte Flair, as far as I know, is not booked for that show. Maybe she'll have a last-minute title defense, drop the championship to someone that's on Raw. Maybe you don't win a title shot. You should, but you don't, from winning the King of the Ring or the Queen's Crown tournament. But maybe they establish that at the last second, that whoever wins the Queen's Crown tournament gets an automatic title shot. She chooses to cash in right then and there. Why Charlotte would even be there if she's not wrestling, I don't know. They could have Doudrop beat her for the belt. I don't know. I'm really going out of my way here to justify this because I don't know how you get the championship off of Charlotte and back on someone that's on the Raw roster. I don't think you can. So the only option that we're left with now is Charlotte and probably Becky. I wouldn't put the belt back on Bianca so soon. Sasha could win the SmackDown Women's Championship. I just don't think she needs to. I would rather just keep the champion. I would have kept the champions right where they were. I would not have drafted Becky. I would not have drafted Charlotte, but they kind of had to because for whatever reason, I guess Fox really wanted Charlotte. So if you're going to move Charlotte, you have to move Becky. And because you move Becky, you move Seth. It's a whole mess. It's a whole ass mess. But anyway, so they'll probably do the title swap. I honestly don't know what they would do otherwise. They did it last year. It was fucking lazy. And they're going to do it again. So I don't want to give them too much credit and think, oh, they're going to come up with something creative and do this or that. It's not that they're incapable of doing something creative. It's just that their track record is so bad that I really don't have any faith that they're going to do anything cool with it. And more likely, they'll just, have the championships be swapped between Becky and Charlotte and have that be it, which is disappointing, but I basically have come to expect that at this point from this company, so I can't say I would be surprised if they did that. From Facebook, we got No L. Their question was, or two questions rather. Should Becky Lynch lose the SmackDown Women's Championship, and also thoughts on Bryan versus Minoru Suzuki, their strong style match from Rampage. Should Becky lose? No, like I said, I think Becky, she just won the belt back at SummerSlam. She's been doing great work. I think to turn her heel was dumb. Reportedly, it was her idea. I think she said in an interview recently that it was their idea. Whoever's idea it was, I still say it was dumb to turn your most popular male or female babyface heel. I think that was stupid. But she's made the most of it. She's been a great heel. She's had some good matches on TV and on pay-per-view. And Bianca's been in chase mode. She's been doing well in chase mode. I think they've had a great feud. The mic work has been great. Throwing Sasha back into the mix has been great. So I've been really enjoying the feud. I'm sure tomorrow's Triple Threat will be no exception. It's going to be another great outing from those two women. But I don't think Becky should lose, especially if Charlotte is still the Raw Women's Champion. I think they're going to do a title swap. So Becky should retain. I like the whole storyline that she hasn't spent an active day in WWE without a championship since before WrestleMania 35. Because up until she got pregnant last year, she was Raw Women's Champion for the entire time. She was SmackDown Women's Champion for a time. Got pregnant, left, came back, won the SmackDown Women's Championship on night 1. Which at the time was a dumb decision. The way they booked that was still stupid. I will still say that till the day I die. But the outcome itself wasn't the worst thing. Because they like the storyline if Becky's going to be a heel that she can boast about, oh, I've been a champion since WrestleMania 35. I've never been pinned for a title here in WWE. At least not since... has she ever been pinned for a championship? I guess Charlotte beat her for the SmackDown Women's Championship back in Money in the Bank 2019. I was there for that. That's why I would remember. But even when she was SmackDown Women's Champion, so back in 2016, she lost the belt to Alexa Bliss in a tables match. She wasn't pinned. She was SmackDown Women's Champion again in 2018. She lost it at TLC that year, but again, she wasn't pinned. She lost it in a triple threat match. She's been pinned quite a bit over the years, but it is interesting. The only time she's ever been pinned for a championship was the third time she was SmackDown Women's Champion in 2019 and lost it to Charlotte Flair, and only after already wrestling on that show against Lacey Evans and Charlotte too. So, pulling double duty, but nonetheless, I don't think she should lose tomorrow. I think it's too soon for that. Have Bianca get her big win over Becky. I know this is doing the right thing, which is something they rarely do, but I think the payoff should be Bianca beating Becky at one of these shows in the next couple of months. If not at WrestleMania, maybe I don't really want to see Bianca win the Women's Rumble again and then go on to face Becky at WrestleMania, but maybe they find a way to keep Bianca in chase mode and interesting long enough for her to rally back and get her title shot and get the big singles match with Becky that she's wanted. She kind of got it at Extreme Rules, but it had a shitty finish. They can finally do that match at WrestleMania, so that's possible. As far as Bryan and Suzuki, fucking awesome match. I mean, what would you expect? It's Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, I gotta get in the habit of saying that, Bryan Danielson and Minoru Suzuki. I had no issue at all with this being added to the Rampage buy-in, the pre-show. It's not a match that was ever going to headline an AEW pay-per-view. I don't think it's a match that would have ever even made an AEW pay-per-view. Suzuki is on a very limited time schedule right now. You got to do the match while you have the time. They could always do a rematch over New Japan. It was a cool thing. It wasn't like they did Kenny Omega versus fucking Adam Page on the buy-in. Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. I think the fact they did it free on YouTube is not that big of a deal at all. It was a cool way to kind of get back at WWE, who, fired their first shot by going to 10:30 with SmackDown and doing commercial free and all this other shit. AEW said, you know what, let's play fire with fire here and do an hour pre-show on YouTube, which I thought was a cool thing to do, and it was great. But yeah, they had an awesome match. Suzuki's looked good so far in AEW, but that was by far the best bout he's had in the company up to this point. He's not under a contract with them, but he's had a few matches. They haven't been barn burners. The first Moxley match was disappointing. It was way too short. The tag team match, the Lights Out tag team match, was entertaining, but again, left a little bit to be desired. I was entertained, but it wasn't like this amazing affair by any means. Extremely exciting or anything along those lines. The Bryan Suzuki match was absolutely exactly what it needed and should have been. Needed to be and should have been, and everything I wanted it to be as well. Awesome match. Let's get to the Twitter questions first from Lily Reynolds, I believe is how you pronounce it. I know it's Lisa Reynolds from Twitter, a longtime follower of hers as well. I believe it's Lily Reynolds, if I'm not mistaken. But her question was, is it only a matter of time before we see Naomi joining the Bloodline? I'm not banking on it, but it would be cool. I think Paul Heyman was asked about it, and that was like one question that I had for Roman last week that I just didn't get enough time to address, or I never got to it. We just talked about other stuff first, and he went a while with a lot of his answers, which was great. It was great content, but I wanted to ask him some more questions, but that was one of them. Would he be, I mean, it's not a yes or no, like, oh, I would, or no, I not really. Like, he's going to give me a non-answer, obviously, because he doesn't book this shit. At the same time, though, he doesn't give a fuck. Like, he's in a position where he's going to tell you how exactly he feels, and that's exactly what he did with me and other people who have interviewed him recently. But anyway, would I like to see Naomi join the Bloodline? I would. I think it'd be cool. I'm digging her current storyline with Sonya. It's a great secondary storyline for that women's division on SmackDown. We still need to find out why Sonya has a vendetta against Naomi. Maybe she fucking spilled something on her on Total Divas years ago. I don't know. They never actually explain what her issue with Naomi is. At the very basis, though, it's a good storyline. The roles have been well played so far by both women. It gets Sonya back in the ring. Naomi's finally doing something relevant, meaningful for the first time in literally years. It's a great use of both women. So it's not even nitpicking to say that the story needs like an actual reason for why it's even happening. That's not nitpicking at all, but putting that aside, I think it's been a great feud so far. Naomi going heel, I think would be awesome. She's been doing great work lately in the Sonya feud, but I thought she did well as a heel 5-6 years ago with the Tamina pairing and the Team Bad shit and whatever. If she was a different type of heel, and I don't know, I just think it'd be cool. I think it'd be cool if the Bloodline had a female member like they just recently added Elektra Lopez, the Legado del Fantasma. I wasn't a big fan of that at first because it felt forced, just because Hit Row already had a female member. But Elektra Lopez, while she's not amazing in the ring quite yet, she feels like a fine fit for that stable so far, and I think Naomi, given her relationship with Jimmy Uso and being a member of that family in real life, I think it'd be cool. So I don't know how she would fare as like a heel, but she could be like conflicted and all this other stuff. I mean, we've seen lately in her promos with Sonya that she has fire. She can be intense. She can be a badass. The whole happy-go-lucky glow shit overstayed its welcome a while ago. But I think if she really tapped into that serious side of her character, I think she could be a convincing heel and be a great part of that faction. Even if she was, like, not a full-blown, like, oh, fuck you type of heel, but more like, I'm defending my husband because I care for him, but, you know, like, I know that what we're doing isn't right, but it's what I have to do type of heel, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I would love to see it. Is it going to happen? Probably not. I don't know if it's a matter of time, like you said. I really don't expect it to happen, but I do think it would be cool. At Iwagu91, their first question was, do you think that Jon Moxley will turn heel? You know, I've thought that for a while. Do I want to see him turn heel? Yes. AEW has brought in Punk, Bryan. If Cody ain't going heel, they need more top heels on this show. They got Kenny, Paige is back. They got a lot of baby faces as it is. I know they have Malachi and Andrade, but I don't know. I just feel like John needs some sort of a refresh as a character. He's been really doing a whole lot of nothing for months now. He lost the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. He feuded briefly with Kojima, then Suzuki, teaming on and off with Eddie Kingston, going for the tag titles. He lost that. Attempted to become world champion, still in pursuit of the AEW World Championship. Definitely not winning this tournament, I don't think. So, yeah, I think him turning heel would be great. In the next part of your question, do you expect Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley to happen in Full Gear? I do. What I would do, I would have Bryan win, and then have Jon Moxley turn heel either on him afterward, or the next week, or use that as his catalyst to turn heel. Because the thing is, as great of a babyface as he's been, and he has that babyface feel to him during his entrance with the Wild Thing song and whatever, he's a great babyface, and this really is the babyface that he should have been later on in his WWE career. He was that babyface for a while in like 2014, for a point in 2015, to an extent in 2016 before they dropped the ball on his title reign. But they never really quite captured the magic there with Dean Ambrose as a face. And when they finally turned him heel in 18, it was too late. They botched the entire thing. It was perfectly executed at first, with the initial heel turn on the same night that Roman got sick and whatever. But then the entire aftermath was completely botched and it was a failure, and that was a big reason as to why he left. Had they nailed it with Moxley, there's a very good chance that he would not have left WWE. I think a big part of the reason why he left was the awful storyline that he was involved in with Rollins, with Moxley as the heel. So I do expect Danielson and Moxley to happen in full gear. I think Moxley going heel would be great. And given the right people to work with, I think it'd be a lot of fun. Him and Paige, I think, would be a lot of fun. Him and Pac kind of rekindling that rivalry from early on in the days of AEW. Him and Cody you could do. That's an option. Him, obviously, and Bryan is a full-fledged feud. Him and Punk, I think, would be a lot of fun. They had maybe a few matches in WWE, but never a full-fledged feud, because Ambrose was a part of the Shield at the time. But I think that'd be a lot of fun as well. His next question, do you consider the Queen's Crown to be a disappointment? I mean, that's an understatement. This entire tournament has been one giant fucking failure. I mean, the matches have been no good. They've gotten zero time. The booking has been a complete embarrassment. I mean, Carmella advancing over Liv Morgan was dumb. Zelina Vega beating Toni Storm clean in a matter of 2 minutes was dumb. You had a very forgettable heel versus heel match in the middle of that show, or in the middle of the tournament between those two on SmackDown. No one gave a fuck. Doudrop and Shayna was a nothing match. No one cared. Doudrop wins. Listen, I like Doudrop, Piper Niven, whatever, but it really should have been Shayna winning the whole thing. I don't give a fuck about her current. Doudrop lost to Charlotte Flair 2 weeks ago in 90 seconds. Why should I give a shit about her becoming the Queen's Crown or whatever? Why should I give a shit about her winning this? The answer is I shouldn't. I have no reason to. It's bad. It's bad booking. I mean, she got a couple of wins over Eva Marie, I'll give you that, but I mean, she lost to Charlotte Flair in 90 seconds off a distraction because of Eva Marie, and she never got a revenge because Eva got attacked by Shayna Baszler, and we haven't seen Eva since. I mean, that's pretty bad. But anyway, so Baszler loses, Doudrop's in the finals. Vega I think she's far better as a manager. I really don't care for her as a wrestler. She's fine. She speaks well. She's been doing better lately. But again, another woman who's been booked like an absolute loser up to this point. So why should I give a shit about her potentially becoming winning the Queen's Crown? Again, I shouldn't. So it's a massive disappointment. More so because it's the first ever Queen of the Ring tournament. It's the first ever Queen's Crown tournament. You'll never have another chance to do another first like this. I wouldn't be surprised if they never did it again, to be honest with you. They might. I doubt they would go back to only having a men's, but they might not just have one at all. They might not have the men's or the women's if it's going to be this badly booked. This was an embarrassment. They really should have done better and do better by their women's division, because so far it's been a complete joke as far as how they've booked these women and the matches and how little time they're given on a 3-hour show. Completely inexcusable. At Supersonic X 1991, the first question was, besides Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, who are rumored to be going to AEW, what other WWE superstars should go to AEW? I can see Cesaro going to AEW, even though he's already lost in the shuffle. Or he'll get lost in the shuffle, rather, in AEW. I'll get back to that in a second. But you also said, or Charlotte Flair, because she's already successful in WWE. Maybe she can help AEW's women's division. Supersonic, you're the biggest Asuka fan I know. This might be one of the first questions you have sent me that does not have Asuka in the actual question. I kid. I know you're a very faithful follower and a big fan of Asuka. But the one time you don't mention Asuka is really when you should have. Because of everyone in the company, especially the women, Asuka, I think, should go to AEW. I'm not even kidding. She is a prime example of someone. I just don't even care about her at this point. I know Charlotte has also accomplished everything, but with Charlotte, she's exactly what she says she is. She's the measuring stick for success in WWE. I want to see her up against Tegan Nox, and Shotzi. I don't really care to see Asuka have any of those matches. Asuka's a great in-ring worker. Her character development, I mean, you could say the same thing about Charlotte, but I feel like Charlotte is just on a whole other level as far as how she's booked. Asuka's booking has been all over the fucking place. She's currently hurt and whatever, and I understand that, but I don't care about Asuka at all. AEW is such a great Joshi women's division, whatever you want to call it, between Shida. They're bringing in Emi Sakura, and they just brought her in, and Ryo Mizunami. I don't give a shit about those. I don't even really care about Riho, to be honest. I don't care about Mizunami. I don't care about Sakura. I don't care about Riho a whole bunch. I love Shida. There might be other women on the roster I'm not thinking of. Yizunami, not Mizunami, but I don't remember. The other woman that was on the show like recently, she faced Penelope Ford on Dynamite or Rampage. She's fine. My point being, they have a lot of Joshi influenced talent on that roster. Asuka would fit in like a glove. They need more women like her in that division. So I think Asuka would be a great fit in AEW. I really don't give a fuck about her anymore in WWE. That's between her accomplishing everything and just the fact that her character is just not interesting at all. Charlotte Flair, I'm not her biggest fan, but I mean, I find her shit at least interesting, and she has great matches, and she's booked a lot better, a hell of a lot better than Asuka is. So I do not want to see Charlotte in AEW, no thanks. Not that she wouldn't do well there. I know her husband's there, but I just don't really care to see that. Cesaro. It's funny you mentioned Cesaro because you literally just said, you said I can see Cesaro going to AEW. But he would get lost in the shuffle. He probably would. I mean, AEW already has a stacked roster. I see Owens doing well over there because he already has the established alliance and feud and history with the Bucks and Omega and Cole and all those other guys. Cesaro does to an extent, but I feel like he would just end up as another guy in the mid-card. It would be interesting, but I think he's fine right where he is. I don't think he's being buried. They could be doing more with him, but would that really change in AEW? Probably not. Owens and Zayn probably, I don't think that's confirmed that he's leaving. Owens is all but confirmed to be out of here. I mean, there's no fucking way. There can be no way that this man stays after the way that he's been booked, especially lately. I mean, if this man decides to stay, I have no sympathy for how he is booked going forward, because the booking of Kevin Owens lately has been horrendous. I'm sure I've answered this question before. I'm trying to think who else in the WWE. I mean, AJ Styles, I think would be awesome in AEW. Should he go? Debatable. I think it'd be sick. If he's not going to wrestle full-time anymore, I mean, WWE has booked him like a fucking afterthought in the tag team division. So him leaving, going to AEW for a little while, not on a regular schedule, but having some dream matches with Kenny Omega, reuniting with the club shit or whatever, I think would be fucking awesome. Balor would be another one that I think would do well over there, given his ties to the Bullet Club. I don't think he is leaving, though. There's a whole bunch of people on the AEW roster. I think Shayna in AEW would be fucking awesome. I think her and Layla Hirsch would kill it against each other. There's a lot of people, but those are the top names that come to mind. Supersonic's second question. Do you think Naomi is already the secret member of the Bloodline, as evidence from the interview that Paul Heyman mentioned that she might already be at the table? Listen. If Naomi was already a member of the Bloodline and she turned heel or something, I don't think they would spoil that in a Paul Heyman interview. That wasn't even on the show. I don't think Heyman would even spoil that, even if he knew that was where the direction they were going in with her. So, no, I don't think he spoiled anything. I think he just likes to tease people. It wouldn't really make much sense anyway. She's feuding with Sonya. She's this great babyface right now. I would like to see her join the Bloodline, but the timing for now anyway is just off. I mean, if this was 6 months ago and they weren't doing shit with her on TV, I'd say absolutely. But at this point in time, she's, got the babyface fire and people are really rallying behind her. I could do without the glow stuff, but I don't know. I just feel like she would be a great fit for the Bloodline. The timing is just weird, though. With how she's been booked lately, she's not going to turn around and turn heel when Sonya's been this great foil for her lately in the heel role. So I don't see that happening anytime soon, especially if it was where they were going with her. I don't think, again, Heyman would spoil that in an interview with someone like me or a different website or whatever. At Reborn Again, John Ritland from the Twitter machine and YouTube. Check out his show. Real Honesty with John Ritland does great work. First question was, so what are the chances WWE has to utilize a ton of women to fill out 2 hours of SmackDown this week? That is, if talents come back from Crown Jewel, if they get delayed again. I don't think they will. We had Super Showdown early last year with SmackDown on Friday. They did it on Thursday. They were able to get back in time for SmackDown on Friday. That was I hope, a one-time thing on Halloween 2 years ago with Crown Jewel, which was a fucking disaster. It did result in one of the best SmackDowns I've seen in years with the NXT roster invading. That was awesome. So I'm actually kind of glad their misfortune was our benefit as far as the show goes. I wouldn't want to be stuck on a plane for a day or 16 hours or whatever it is. But it did work out in the end for NXT and their involvement with Survivor Series. I thought that worked out amazingly well. But anyway, I don't think that's going to happen. It would be great to get like an Evolution 2.0 on SmackDown if... it wouldn't even be all the way. Sasha wouldn't be on the show. Neither would Becky or Bianca or... Sasha's the only SmackDown superstar, but you wouldn't have Vega on the show if she won the King of the Ring or Queen's Crown, which I think she is. She's my pick to win. Yeah, I don't even know. It wouldn't be all... if you don't have Sasha on the show, I guess you could have Charlotte on there. I don't know what the fuck you would do without Roman there, and who else is even on SmackDown at that point? I don't even know. If Roman's not on the show, that would be a big disaster. But thankfully, I think we could say disaster averted. As far as I don't think that's going to happen, but it would be interesting though. He said, so Bearcat Lee claws his way to Raw next week. How long until Vince has him dressing in a bear costume and making roaring noises? I'd give it a couple of months. To call him Bearcat isn't that big of a deal. It's like doing something completely unnecessary. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And if people don't care about Keith Lee, that's their own fault for how they've booked him. It has nothing to do with his look or what his name is or his attire. That's all just supernatural or superficial shit. But, saying he's clawing his way to Raw next week is fucking terrible. I could only imagine him coming out with a giant bear head on the top of his head, like a fucking mask or something. Maybe not using it while he wrestles, but coming out as with a headgear when he comes out to the ring. That would be terrible. But I wouldn't put it past them. This is WWE. They've done dumb stuff like that before. We may have yet to see the absolute worst of Bearcat Lee. It may just get worse. The graphic said Bearcat Lee. It didn't even say Keith Bearcat Lee or Bearcat Keith Lee. It was just Bearcat Lee, which is so fucking stupid. Just do something with the guy and I won't have to complain. Even if he has the dumbest name and gimmick in the world, if they actually pushed him and it made sense and it was a decent enough character, I wouldn't complain. But they're not even doing anything with him, so maybe they're waiting until after the draft, who knows. But seeing is believing. His third question, non-wrestling related, but you know my thoughts in the following. But after being delayed for over a year, do you think Halloween Kills lived up to the hype? Yeah, so, John did his own review. Check it out. He does great stuff. Enjoy the review. As far as my thoughts on the movie, did it live up to the hype? In my opinion, yes, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was very polarizing, reception of the movie, John being among them, and I totally get it. Oh, the movie sucked, or it was amazing. It was crazy to see the two sides of the spectrum there. Some people really thought it was fantastic and one of the best movies yet, and better than the original, whereas some people thought it was way worse, and it was a complete waste of time. We all knew it would be a filler movie, because we have the third one coming out apparently next year, which is awesome. We don't have to wait very long for that at all. I won't spoil anything here. You could tell it was a secondary transitional film. But as a movie I've waited 3 years for, because I loved that initial remake back in 2018. I thought that was a fantastic movie. And I rewatched that right before I saw this one, and I enjoyed it again. As far as setting the stage for what's to come, I thought Halloween Kills did exactly what it needed to do. And it lived up to the hype for me. You gotta look at the name of the movie. People are like, oh, it's just a bunch of kills. Just a bunch of, cool, impressive kills and nothing more than that. It's the name of the fucking movie. It's called Halloween Kills. It's not called Halloween Storytelling. The storytelling was far from perfect. It wasn't an amazing movie. I used the word awesome in terms of wow, that kill was greatly executed. That was really what the entire movie was Michael Myers killing motherfuckers. Again, I won't spoil much more than that, but if you saw any early previews, or I don't even have to spoil it for you, you know he kills a lot of people. And the way he kills said people, I think is very well done. It's creative, it's cool. I enjoy the movie. A lot of the characters have some flaws. The boyfriend they brought back, or the quote-unquote boyfriend, was fucking stupid. because he like cheated on the girl, and they act all fine in the movie. They don't even address it. They just move on from it. Same kid that put the girl's phone in like whatever it was, whatever that drink was, the punch or whatever. Regardless, I thought the movie was very enjoyable. I liked it. I still think the original remake back in 2018 was better. It had more, this one had more action as far as more killing. To me, so before I get to my comparison, I know the first one didn't have as much killing, but it was a better balance of the killing and the storytelling and stuff like that, which it's a slasher film. They're only going to be so good. I get that. It's not the fucking Titanic. I understand. But to me, I thought with this movie, the pure purpose of it was like building up a top heel. So for when eventually he does meet his demise, and spoiler alert, I guess, he doesn't meet his demise in this movie, that it's going to mean more when it happens, whether it be in the next one. It has to be in the next movie, but I guess he could always get away, and that's the end of that one. That's what always fucking happens. I just want to see this guy die and have it be satisfying. So by having him kill a lot of people, it makes that eventual death of Michael Myers, which hopefully is coming in the third movie, and it's not a cop-out ending again, where they're like, oh, he's on the loose, like, what's going to happen? Like, no, just fucking end it, please. It's called Halloween Ends, please end it. So yeah, I would hope that in giving him so many kills, it's going to mean more, it's going to mean that much more when he eventually gets his comeuppance in the next movie. That is the hope to me. If that doesn't happen, then yeah, the movie was a waste. I'll give you that. But we won't find out until next year when it comes out. At the Wrestle Guy, Sal, his question, his Twitter name is at the Wrestle Guy. Sal is a good buddy of the show. He's been a longtime friend of mine. His first question was, who would Lesnar beating Roman Reigns be a mistake? To follow that, if not Lesnar, then who? I'm realistically looking at the roster, and as of now, I don't see anyone in a position of defeating Roman Reigns. No, I do not have Brock beat Roman. I think there's going to be more matches, so even if Brock does beat Roman at some point, I would not have it be a crown jewel. I think that'd be incredibly dumb. Roman's still at the peak of his popularity and is part of his, heel run and his title reign and whatever. There's still more you can do. I know he could lose it and then get it back, but don't even interrupt it. There's a story that can be told there where if he can make it past Brock here, hold on to the championship until January, by that point he will have surpassed Brock as far as longest Universal Championship reign of all time. Because Brock still holds the record. A lot of people forget that. Brock held the championship from April of 2017 until August of 2018. Almost a year and a half. So Roman's got a couple of more months to go, about less than 100 days to go until he breaks that record. And that record was held by Brock Lesnar. So I wouldn't have him lose, Roman that is, on Thursday. Knowing WWE, a very good chance he could lose. I really hope they resist the urge to do that. If not Lesnar, then who? I have always said Damian Priest. I've been saying this for at least a month or two now. I think Damian Priest being the one to beat Roman would be great. I know he's not young. He's 37 years old, 38, 39, whatever. But the guy's great. He's been booked amazingly well as of late on Raw. He's got momentum on his side. He's gradually getting over. He's the only one that really makes sense. No one else has been built up to a level, to me, where it makes sense. I know he's on Raw and Roman's on SmackDown, but you could have Damian Priest win the Rumble, the same exact match that he debuted in a year earlier, like a lot like Bianca Belair to an extent, and then he goes on to become champion at WrestleMania. It's better to me. It's better than Drew. I know Drew's a little younger, but Drew's a made man. Give Damian his Drew moment by having him beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. That's what I would do. You can't wait for The Rock. That's clearly not happening. That ship sailed a while ago, apparently. So I would have it be Damian Priest personally. If not him, Drew is better than Brock, but even Drew isn't ideal because I feel like whoever beats Roman should really benefit. Not everyone has to benefit from everything. I understand that, but I don't love the idea of Drew beating Roman. It makes sense storyline-wise because he's never beaten Roman in WWE one-on-one. I get that, but and the match would be awesome. Currently I don't want to see that. I feel like it's just still too soon to put another belt on Drew, even though he has been champion since the beginning of the year. Sal's second question, does Bobby Lashley need to dominate Goldberg at Crown Jewel? The story for Goldberg is to defeat Lashley. It's there. But is doing nothing for him at all. Is doing nothing for him at all, and it hurts Lashley tremendously. So I think you're saying that, does Goldberg need to dominate? Goldberg's winning. It's going to be a Goldberg win. Goldberg wins, LOL. That's the situation here. I don't even hate it just because Goldberg has got to win at some point. If you're going to continue to use the guy, he's got to fucking win. I mean, he lost to WrestleMania 37. He lost to Drew McIntyre at the Royal Rumble earlier this year. He loses to Bobby Lashley in an awful match at SummerSlam. The guy, if you're going to keep bringing him back, and contractually, I think he's signed at least until, through next year, he's got to win at some point. He's got to win at least one match. I hate the fact that he's going to beat Bobby Lashley, but Bobby's been beaten a lot lately. Like, he lost the WWE Championship. He got pinned by Big E. He got pinned by Roman Reigns in that triple threat match on Raw a few weeks ago. The guy can't catch a break. So honestly, at this point, what does one more loss even really matter? I mean, they're not going to live up to the hype of him killing him, because why would they? That's terrible. I'm not even really sure why that's the crux of this storyline and why it's like the driving force creatively. But yeah, Goldberg's going to win. Does it hurt Lashley? It does, but I mean, as long as he can bounce back, and I want to see Lashley still in a marquee position on this show, beyond Crown Jewel. Whether it's going to happen or not remains to be seen. So we'll see. Hopefully the match is better. It's no DQ, so fingers crossed, but I guess I shouldn't be holding my breath. At Supersonic X 1991, back to them. What are your thoughts on Eric Bischoff giving Tony Khan advice by having him focused on making AEW a better product rather than focusing on beating WWE? Listen, I agree. It annoys me when AEW will make a lot of references to WWE on their YouTube show, and it's just, some of it just isn't funny, or it's just stupid. And they've been doing it for so long, but if a WWE person takes a shot at AEW, everyone freaks the fuck out, because people tend to baby AEW. I mean, both fan bases are toxic in different ways. So the Tony Khan thing, when he went on Twitter last week saying, "Oh, we're going to beat you, Rampage is going to beat SmackDown," was fucking dumb. Demo this, demo that, I don't give a fuck. Who cares? Who gives a shit about the demo? Clearly advertisers do. I understand that. They make the money off of that. As far as the overall viewership, it wasn't even close. It was a couple 100,000 viewers off. So why he would even say that, I don't know. I think he needs to do a bit better of a job of both. I feel like WWE, they do a lot of petty shit, but they never really publicly comment on AEW unless they're asked about it. Tony Khan will go out of his way to talk about WWE, it seems. I know he does a lot of interviews. It's up to the interviewers to ask or not ask the questions. I get that. I've been in that position. But I just feel like he's talking a lot. Like, "Oh, I have more money than you. I can afford to do commercial-free shows." Like, fuck you. You just sound like an asshole. I mean, fuck Vince, too, but I mean, he just sounds like a douche. Who gives a shit how much money you have? Who really cares, to be honest with you? I didn't listen to the interview. Maybe he came across better in saying it as opposed to print. Because in print, it just looks awful. He just looks like an asshole saying that. I think he's got to focus making AEW better, and the product is already great. You just got to make it that much stronger. I think they do a good job of focusing on their own shit, and he can comment on WWE. It's not really that big of a deal. I get that, but when he talks about, I don't know, when he talks about, Vince and I, when he just brings it up randomly and he responds to people on Twitter about it, you look like a fucking loser. He's responding to tweets about the ratings when he wasn't even tagged. He wasn't even tagged. Why are you vanity searching? Who cares? Who gives a shit? Oh my God, the talking, the amount of joy these people get from the demo shit is just so weird to me, because I don't care. It works out for them business-wise, but they put way too much stock into that shit. I mean, the anniversary show barely did over 1 million viewers. That's a bad number for an anniversary show, for how much they stacked it, and it was a great show. I mean, worry more about that shit than the fucking demo. I mean, I thought the whole thing was so overblown and dumb. That goes for WWE too, but Tony Khan talking about it, responding to tweets about it, to me just looked Bush League. At E13A from Twitter, have you heard Cody Rhodes' comment that fan reactions are making him feel like Woody from Toy Story? I did see that, because I saw a lot of people responding to it saying, "No, he's not Woody. We actually like Woody." I get the reference. I've seen the Toy Story movies 1 million times. I don't think I've seen 4 back since it first came out 2 years ago, but beyond that, 1, 2, and 3, I've seen 1 million times. I know exactly what he's talking about. I totally understand that. But at the same time, it's people still liked Woody. I mean, in the movie, it's he's an asshole, he's annoying, he's the old toy. It's just the booking of Cody is the problem. That's the problem with Cody, is the booking. I think Cody's great. I'm a big Cody fan. But like when he just keeps leaving and going, Woody wasn't leaving and going from the toy chest. He was always there. They just kind of overlooked him for the new toy. People are not overlooking Cody Rhodes for Danielson and Punk. Because if that was the case, really, if anyone should... this would be a perfect comparison. If Punk and Danielson came in, and Paige was really hot before they came in, and he still is hot, so they clearly haven't affected his popularity at all, which is great. But if they came in, took away from his popularity, people didn't give a fuck about Hangman anymore, and they just didn't like it, they started booing Hangman. That would be amazing. I mean, as far as, like, from a character standpoint, I don't want to see that happen, but as far as, like, he's a cowboy, he's Woody, like, that makes sense. They're the new toys. He's getting pushed aside. That hasn't been the case yet with Paige. With Cody, they would have booed him regardless. That Anthony Ogogo shit was terrible. The match wasn't good. The Malachi Black feud has been good. I'm glad he's lost twice, but he's going to win on Saturday. It's pretty obvious, and he probably should, I guess, because he needs a win at some point, but it's like... there's really nothing there for him to sink his teeth into is the problem. And I really think he could benefit from a heel turn, but he doesn't want to turn heel. So whatever, I guess. I guess it's not going to happen. But it's not a case of like, oh, the new toys are overshadowing the old ones. No, it's just that he's booked weird. And he says weird things in his promos, and he just comes across as unlikable. And he's an amazing heel. I think he's a great baby face. But the booking and the fact that he can't go for the world title has done him zero favors. Back to Supersonic X in 1991. I think we'll finish off with their question here. Will Halloween Havoc be the perfect time for Io Shirai to drop the NXT Women's Tag Team titles and possibly go to the main roster? It's been long overdue, and which brand will she go to, Raw or SmackDown? Listen, she had a title defense the day before the draft, a couple of weeks ago, and she held on to the titles with Zoe Stark. I don't give a single shit about their tag team. Zoe Stark, as good of a worker as she is, does zero for me. Maybe I'm in the minority on that one, but she is so bland to me. Io Shirai is amazing. She feels underutilized right now as far as what more they could be doing with her on that show. She honestly feels out of place. She at this point, she feels out of place. It feels like she should be doing more on NXT. Or, I hate to even say go to the main roster because I feel like they might ruin her is the problem. I mean, Kairi Sane was on the main roster for a year or two, had enough, said, fuck this, I'm leaving. She was literally in the main roster for like a year and a half, not even. And she was like, fuck this, I'm out of here. I'm not getting attacked, I'm not getting injured by Nia Jax anymore. So I'm going back to Japan. She made the right choice there, I think. I don't want to see that happen to Io Shirai. I want to see her stay in WWE and be successful. But it's you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Either she goes to the main roster, potentially gets ruined. But I mean, at some point you got to move on. I would prefer that, honestly. I hate that I'm even saying that. Or she stays in NXT and does nothing. Like, she's not probably going back for the NXT Women's Championship. The tag title stuff has long overstayed its welcome. Honestly, to me, it feels like AJ Styles. Like, he's been in the tag team division for a while now. It really feels like he could be more of a main player on that show. Io should be a main player in whatever show she's on. She's not a main player right now in NXT. I know she was in the title picture for a year, and you got to take a break at some point. But even her team with Zoe Stark has been a complete... I mean, it might have been stereotypical, but I even think an Io Shirai Sarai tag team, or Sarai, or however you pronounce her name, would have been more entertaining than her and Zoe Stark. I mean, that is just... It feels so fucking forced. I don't think they're... If they are dropping the titles, and I think they are, there's only like 3 or 4 teams in that division anyway, and Io Shirai and Zoe have beaten all of them anyway in the last 2 or 3 months. If they do drop the belts... then I do think they will. Probably to Toxic Attraction. I like Hartwell and Peretta, I think is how you pronounce her last name. I like them a lot, but they're new and they can always win the belts at some other point. I would have Toxic Attraction win. I don't think, though, from there Io Shirai goes to the main roster. I think they'll probably keep her down in NXT to fucking tread water. Because if they wanted to call her up, I feel like they would have done that in the draft. I mean, fucking Isaiah Swerve Scott was the North American champion when he got called up. It's not like he lost the title and then got called up or what, you know. It's not like he wasn't drafted, lost the championship, and then moved up. No, he was drafted. They figured it out, got the belt off of him, and now he's on the main roster as Isaiah Swerve Scott and the rest of Hit Row. So if they really wanted Io instead of, let me check my notes, Aaliyah, then they would have drafted her. But they didn't, so I think she's staying put for better or for worse. And that's going to do it, guys, for episode 412 of #AskGSM here today for Wednesday, October 20th, 2021. Appreciate you guys checking out the show as always. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a question on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. One last time, guys, I promoted this earlier, but a lot of interviews going up here on the channel in the days to come, and already in the last week. We had Roman Reigns, the Universal Champion, talking the supersized SmackDown and a lot more here on Friday on the channel, so check that out in article form as well on Bleacher Report. We had Elliot Taylor, only in audio form, myself, Phil Lindsay, and Doc Chris Mueller, great guys, talking about Elliot making the music for Bryan Danielson in AEW, the Born for Greatness theme song that Bryan uses. This guy made, and he was a lot of fun to talk to about it. On Tuesday? Today's Wednesday, so Tuesday, I think. Tuesday, yeah. New NXT North American Champion Carmelo Hayes was here on the channel talking about his big title win, and today was Sasha Banks, ahead of Crown Jewel tomorrow, talking all about the pay-per-view and being on SmackDown, her WrestleMania dream matches, some names that might, surprise you. One specifically, they made the rounds today on Twitter, which was hilarious. I don't agree with her, but I just thought it was funny that it picked up traction. It's Sasha. She's always in fucking character. We talked about tacos and the Mandalorian. She was great, so check that out as well. That's also in article form on Bleacher Report. And we got more interviews to come on Daily DDT, What Culture, and Bleacher Report in the next week, and here on the channel in audio form, and even including one on video. So if you haven't already subscribed, do so, please. You're not going to want to miss out on these interviews in addition to these Q&A videos every single Wednesday. I review Raw Talk. I break down Talking Smack. I do audio reviews of SmackDown when I get the chance. On the weekends, we do Marvel reviews. We just wrapped up a What If review series here on the channel. Myself, Phil, and Chris. That was a lot of fun. We do movie reviews. We got a Venom review coming up soon with Skylar Grey. If you know the name, look it up. You probably know who she is, or at least listen to a song of hers. Chris and I interviewed her yesterday, so that's going up probably next week. Like I said, a lot of interviews. That stuff, WrestleRant radio excerpts, RJ and I, like I said earlier, probably breaking down Crown Jewel after it airs tomorrow on Peacock, so we'll have the excerpts up on my thoughts on the pay-per-view, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that. And a lot more. There's going to be a lot more content coming here to the channel, including more Dark Side of the Ring reviews and stuff like that. So you're not going to want to miss it. Hit the bell button again to be notified every time a new video goes up. Have an awesome one, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.